I got my start in broadcasting in sports talk radio. The format itself is something that I've loved even long before I started in the business. I think it's the laid-back nature and flexibility of the medium itself. You can do anything from paint a picture for your audience by telling them a story to engaging in a heated debate with your co-host.
Anybody who thinks that they're smart is saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's work on defense. The offense is fine. Let's go out and make sure we got a pass rush. Because if we had a pass rush, we would have beaten San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
If we had a middle linebacker, we'd have beaten San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand it.
My approach to television is quite similar. Bring that same element of engaging and analytical discussion just to an audience visually.
And welcome back to the SEC Wrap-Up Show. It's Tate Shapiro, John Newton. Shapiro with John Newton.
I am John Newton filling in. We are joined by one of the youth movement members at 790 The Zone, young John Newton, the star of the future at 790.
The way Oklahoma runs their offense, 10 to 12 seconds between each play, the high-tempo offense, I don't think Florida State can hang.
They got killed playing a lot of zone last year. They're ready to play some man.
It didn't take us long to figure out that this story was fabricated from the get-go, but I started thinking to myself, would LSU fans have even wanted Les Miles fired if it was true?
We talked about the Georgia-Kentucky game this week a little bit. Georgia's coming off two dominant wins the last couple of weeks. Is this a case of Georgia playing inferior talent, or has Georgia really started to get in rhythm this season?
No, I think that the latter part is more correct. The competition of the last 2 weeks has not been as great in some instances. Back, really getting in sync and capable, I think, of beating anybody the rest of the schedule.
There's been frustration with Dan Uglo with the Atlanta Braves since he got here. He's a career 253 hitter. If he can get back to 253, up from 220 last year, the good thing with Dan Uglo is he's going to be hitting at the back end of the order. You don't have to rely on him to be your cleanup guy or hitting in the fifth hole. He's going to be hitting 7 or 8.
This point last year, going into game one, Georgia was missing not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 defensive starters, not just 1. If this is the only problem Mark Richt has to deal with during the offseason, I'm fine. He's overselling this Clemson game. We talked about this on Mayhem the other day.
You watched the Chick-fil-A Bowl?
I did.
You watched most of that
I
team
did.
offensively, what they did to LSU?
I also saw a Clemson team that was 60th in the country in rushing defense last year going up against Todd Gurley. We'll see.
Gurley and Marshall, you've been saying for months, control the line of scrimmage, and Georgia wins handily.
Speaking of the defensive system starting to develop, this week Randall Cobb, as explosive of a playmaker as you're going to see in the SEC, what are the keys to stopping a guy that can really just hit you from pretty much any angle?
Well, you better know where he is, I'll tell you that, because he lines up in a lot of places. He almost beat us a couple of years ago up there in Kentucky.
By the way, follow us on Twitter. A lot of guys with a lot of opinions on what to ask and buy or sell tonight. Just follow us at Tate Shapiro,
At JT Newton.
and